Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream. I know it's been several weeks before I've done one of these, but without going into too much detail, life became a little busy for a while there. Things at the shop became busy and hectic, so I had to take a break from this. But I'm now back, and today's topic is going to be talking about European sound. So, lots of people mention, what a European sound is. Like they'll say, this horn sounds European, or I want some sort of European sound. And the question is, what is the European sound? What is an American sound? Are there any other sounds out there? I find that when most people talk about a European sound, it is a shortcut for a very open, colorful, and projecting sound. So something along, really you could say it is the sound of the current Berlin Philharmonic. So if you've listened to recent recordings of the Berlin Philharmonic or individual Berlin players, that would be the ideal European sound. As far as the American sound, there's really no particular orchestra that you can point to because, present day Philadelphia sounds very different from present day Chicago, from present day Dallas to present day New York. We have a variety of sounds, and surprisingly, it's not all about the horn choice, because most of the orchestras I mentioned use Geyer style horns. So is there a difference between the European style and the American between the American sound and the European sound? Yes. And I think that comes down to the fact that outside of the United States, the Alexander 103, which is a very unique wrapped horn, it's not a Geyer style horn, it's not a Crispa, it's its own wrap. Some people like to say Crispa just when you're explaining it to someone and you don't want to go into detail because the change valve is at the top like other Crispa horns. But it shares nothing else with the Crispa wrap. It's not a Crispa wrap horn. Since we don't really use Alexander 103s in the United States, and the Alexander 103 does get a very unique sound that all of the American orchestras, I think you can say, don't really get a European sound. Now, I do know there are some prominent players in the U.S., especially principal players who do use the Alexander 103. But I would still say those sections don't have a European sound. So let's go ahead and do some playing just to kind of show you what I mean. So this is an Alexander 103 that we have at the shop right now. It's going for $62.50. I had one person email me and say, why is a horn like the Alexander 103 going for a lower price than other premium horns? And the question is, and the answer is basically demand. Like used Geyer style horns are more wanted in this country, and especially in our area in Texas. So there's going to be more competition for them, and that drives up the price. Use Alexander 103. Most professionals are not going for an Alex 103 here. That doesn't mean none are. That doesn't mean it's not going to sell, but it does mean that the price is going to be a little bit lower. So no, price does not always correlate to quality, because I wouldn't say the Alexander 103 is not a premium level horn. Of course not. It's the most used horn on the planet among professionals, but it's not as desired in the United States. So a very nice sounding horn, easy to play. Um, you know, definitely can't say much negative about this horn. But now let's compare it to what I would consider to be a more American style horn. This is going to be the Lewis-Dürk LDX5. So, from my ear, just then, the Lewis-Dürk LDX5 sounded more gutsy. The sound was just bigger, a bit more of a veiled quality to it than the Alexander 103. But just, yeah, bigger, a little more veiled quality, and definitely a gutsier sound. And of course, I would love to hear from you in the chat as to what you heard the differences, what you heard between the differences of the horns, over the internet. And yes, I know the Lewis-Dürk LDX5, we import them from Germany. But just because a horn is made in Germany does not mean that it has a European sound. In fact, in Germany specifically, although there are exceptions, the Alexander 103 is so widely used just because of tradition that the other German horn makers tend to export more of their horns than they sell in the domestic market. So absolutely, definitely, Germany, yeah, just because a horn is made in Germany or made in Europe doesn't mean it's European, it has a European sound at all. And by the way, I'm sure someone will bring this up. Yes, I used both the same mouthpiece in both horns. This particular Alex has actually had the receiver rebuilt, so it does take an American mouthpiece, not a European mouthpiece. But generally, Alexander horns take European mouthpieces, and other horns that are copies of Alexander or Alexander-like also take a European mouthpiece, while all other horns, even those made in Germany, will take Morse taper mouthpieces. So, let's compare the Alexander 103 to some other horns, because we can't just say, well, the LDX5 is representative of the American style, because one of the great things about America is that we have a big diversity of types of horns that are used here. So next I'm gonna play the Ricco Kühn Innovation, and then I'll play the Alexander 103 again for a direct comparison. So in that comparison, the Ricco Kuhn, to my ear, definitely had a bigger, gutsier sound with a more veiled quality like the LDX5, but not quite as much. So between the Lewis-Dürk LDX5 and the Alexander, the Kuhn Innovation kind of felt was kind of in the middle. So yeah, there was a difference, and the Kuhn was more American sounding. But there's a spectrum there, so you don't have to go all the way to as veiled as the LDX5 was. So I have a couple of comments in chat here. The Alex definitely has more core. That is true. We have Tyler, new mouthpiece today. Actually, new mouthpiece for the last 3 months. You're one of the first people to know this. But it's something we're working on, so I can't tell you about it yet. Moving on. Let's compare the Alexander 103 to an Engelbert Schmid. So this is a horn that many people would say has a unique sound to it. Some people love the sound of the Schmid. Some people hate the sound of the Schmid. But it's definitely a little different than your typical American sounding horn. So let me go ahead and play that in comparison to the Alex 103. So the Alexander 103 and the Schmid still sounded very different to my ears. The Alexander definitely has the most unique sound of all of the horns I've been playing today. That probably has to do with its unique tapers, its unique wrap. I mean, I know there are copies of the Alexander 103, but compared to horns we have in the United States, which are generally Crispa or Geyer-Knopf style horns, the Alexander 103 is its own thing. And the fact that the Alexander 103 uses a 0.476 inch or 12.1 millimeter bore, which is a little different, which is larger than the standard most horns, which is either 12 millimeters or 0.472 or 11.9 millimeters or 0.468. The Schmid, to me, the sound sounded closest to the Alexander 103 of all of the horns I've tried, but still not super close. So I would say every horn but the Alexander 103 I've tried today would be an American sounding horn, but there's still variety, and you can choose when you're picking out a horn, you can choose which side of the spectrum you want to go to. Do you want the more, covered, big, gutsier sound, or do you want the lighter, more open sound? What a soft sound. Okay, do I need to turn up my mic a little bit more? Just let me know. Other than that, I'm gonna play one more comparison, and this is just going to be my my Madeline versus the Alexander 103. Okay, so to my ear, the Madeline sounded the most different of all of these horns. The Madeline definitely had a larger, gutsier sound than the Alexander 103. Um, and of course, don't be biased by the fact that the Madeline was the easiest one for me to play. I mean, it is the horn that I use every day. So it's the one that I'm most used to. Um, but yeah, the Alexander 103, it has a very beautiful sound, but it was very much not like the Madeline. So, what are my conclusions here? Because I know it can be, these kind of comparisons can be scatter shots. So what is the point? The point is that you don't really have to worry too much about getting a horn that sounds, quote, too European. You're going to be able to match in most sections with any of these horns because you'll learn how to match the sound. And although these horns all have like different flavors to them, it's not the kind of thing where, well, I guess I would say if you're shopping for a horn, you want to listen more for the quality of the sound and how much that sound suits you as a player. And of course, how does that sound match with the people around you? What do they sound like? Are you going to be able to play in a section with them with this particular horn? We have another comment here. No comparison with a Paxman. I would love to. I don't have a Paxman to compare it with. From my experience with Paxmans, so we usually carry a 20M in the shop, but we sold our last one a few days ago. It would be more along the lines of the Madeline and the LDX5 rather than the Schmid, the Kuhn, and definitely not like the Alex. But yeah, if you like a really European sound and you don't mind being a little bit different, an Alexander 103 can be, especially a used one like this, could be a great deal. $62.50. It's much less than other premium horns of its quality. If you want something that's super light and easy to play, then the Schmid is where you want to go. It's more towards the Alexander sound than it is the Madeline or the Lewis-Dürk, but still has a full, rich sound. And of all the horns I played, nothing was easier to play. A very close second in the light and easy to play category would be the Ricco Kühn. And from those of you who've seen my last live stream, I tried out the Ricco Kuhn with the intention of possibly buying it. Now, I have decided to not buy this particular one. That's going to be addressed in another live stream. But no, it's not because there were any deficiencies with the horn. It's still a great horn with a great sound. And frankly, of all the horns we stock in the shop right now, it is my favorite, period. It's light and easy to play, but still has a nice, beautiful, substantial sound. So, like, if you like the lightness and ease of a Schmid, but you just want a larger, gutsier sound, then the Kuhn Innovation is the way to go. The LDX5 is the way to go if you just want, you want to go way more over to the, to the larger, more covered side. I think the Paxman to be close to a Schmid from Stickum. I would just have to totally disagree with you on that. That hasn't been my experience as far as comparing the sounds of the horns and the way they play and the feel, but it's okay to disagree. And yeah, I think I've covered everything. Schmid, light and easy to play. LDX5, the most, quote, American style horn, or it should just say larger sound, more covered feel. The Kuhn, a great mix between the two. And I think that's about it. Let me see if there are any other questions in the chat. No. Well, thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate the fact that people watch these streams, and I've been approached by many of you in real life to let me know how, that you enjoy them. So just know that I'm really grateful for all of you, and thank you so much. I plan on continuing these, and I'm going to continue them on a regular schedule from now on, so they're not so scattershot. So you can look for them on Wednesdays at noon, except for next week when I'll be at TMEA. For those of you who will be at TMEA, we'll be near the front in booth 832, I believe. We actually have 14 booths, but I believe 832 is one of them, if you're looking for us on a map. The shop will be closed all of next week because everyone's going down to TMEA, and we're taking basically everything. So you can come see us at TMEA, and you can see close to our full stock. And we'll have all of our mouthpieces, and we'll also have lots of guests. So Ricco Kühn will be flying down with his son Florian to show off some of his horns and rotary trumpets. And there are even going to be a few models he normally doesn't bring to America. So you can come try some unique Kühn horns and meet Ricco Kühn. Johannes and his wife Mariella Finca will be there, and they'll be there with their brand new triple model, which I'm super excited to see. Combining a great design triple with his light composite valves, I just can't imagine that it's going to be anything but an absolute great playing and handling triple horn. We'll have Stammvi there. So for those of you who are fans of the Stammvi Titan and Elite, we'll have a full selection of Stammvi horns there, and you can meet the guys who run Stammvi USA. We'll also have Marcus Bona there, along with his son Andre, and they'll have plenty of unique cases. Nothing new for horn players, but there are a couple of brand new trombone cases. So in case there are any trombone players watching this, we just got them in yesterday to take them to the show, and they're absolutely beautiful. So you can meet Marcus and Andre Bona and buy cases from them. And their new logo, they have a new metal logo on all of their cases. It's beautiful. I really wish I could now sell my Marcus Bona cases and get some of the new one, get new ones with the metal logo. I am halfway tempted to do that. Much to the chagrin of my wife, who's also the business manager of Houghton Horns, Casey Wright, if you haven't met her. I want to make sure I don't miss any guests. We'll have Greg Black of Greg Black Mouthpieces. Not much of interest to you horn players, but trombone players will be very happy to see him there with his full selection of mouthpieces. Dieter Otto horns will be there, and they have a great new marching horn, a German marching horn, which I have not played yet, but I imagine it's going to be great. Apparently it's very popular in Europe right now. And of course we'll be right by Paxman. So the Paxman guys, John Rogers and Steve Flower, who run the company, they'll be there with a wide selection of horns, including their heritage descant. So I kind of have a stockpile of videos that I need to make, and I still need to make a video about this one, because when I saw their heritage descant at Midwest in December, I just bought it right off the booth because I loved it that much. So this is my new descant horn, but you can look forward to a video on that soon. And Tyne Brass will be there. Again, not much of interest to horn players, but we'll be right by him with, and he'll have full selection of his trombones and trumpets. So I think that's about it. We're completely in TMEA mode now, just packing and getting everything ready. Um, just in case you want to order something online, know that, and we're going to put up banners on our website and everything, but know that the shop will be completely closed next week. So don't come by. And even orders that are placed are going to be shipped out after TMEA. It's the only time of the year we do this, but it is the one time of the year that we just closed down. And that's about it. Also, if any of you are looking for a job, we're hiring part-time workers to help out around the shop. There's going to be some things like shipping and maintaining horns and things like that, but there's also some things in there like the possibility to do some sales and acoustically test instruments and things like that. So go ahead and just contact me or contact my wife, Casey at houghtonhorns.com if you're interested in that job. We're going to be hiring a few more people. We really want to get bias readings on all of our horns. We want to get better descriptions up on all of our instruments on our website. Want to improve our customer service. We want to do everything that we can to be the best horn shop in the country. Okay. Thank you very much for joining me. Oh, we have a few more. Can you do one comparing the different American custom makers? So here's the thing about that. We don't get a lot of those horns through the shop. They're rarely sold out in the public. Frankly, if you have a Quartus Maki made by Carl Hill, you probably already know one or two people who want to buy it from you. So when you get ready to sell it, you just contact one of them and you sell it through there. Same thing with Rauchs, same thing with Bergs, same thing with Lewis's. And I've tried all these horns and I could talk about them, but I wouldn't be able to play them and compare them. So if I ever get the opportunity and there just happen to be several custom horns in the shop, then I will bring them in immediately for a live stream. But it's not something that's going to be happening in the future. Oh, and I see a follow-up. Even just talking about them, since it's hard to get samples. Well, let me think about how that would actually go, and I will. Maybe there'll be a video of me just talking about different custom makers. And Cameron, I'll be performing at TMEA. Can't wait to see you guys. Are you one of the All-State bands? Or are you performing with another ensemble? TMEA is really a unique experience. It's the Texas, for those of you who aren't Texans, it's the Texas Music Educators Association Conference down in San Antonio. Tens of thousands of people attend every year. It's a really unique experience. I don't care where you're from. You should come to TMEA either this year if you're within driving range and you want to come on down. It's going to be taking place next week from Thursday through Saturday, or in another year. Okay, thank you everybody, and I will see you next time.